It's
Welcome,
New Thought Tuesdays. I'm Dean Regan, RSCP, with,
Rich Smith.
hey,
No
Richard,
RSCP, just Rich Smith.
just a Rich Smith, man filled with riches.
Yeah,
Welcome, welcome,
welcome.
welcome to New Thought Tuesdays today. Whoa, today.
Yeah, what are we talking about today?
Our title, and I love our title, is Unleash Your Creative Power, Courageous Strategies for Celebrating Fear and Embracing Empathy.
Mm,
We are going to celebrate fear, which might be a little bit of a controversial thing. Why celebrate fear? But we're going to be celebrating fear today. So get ready to ignite your creative spark today and embark on this journey with us. It is a journey of fearless creativity. So we're
yeah,
thrilled to have you here for New Thought Tuesdays. We're going to be talking about, as I said, fearless creativity, exploring the ancient wisdom to fuel and elevate your creative process. So using fear to ignite the creative process and also getting a clear idea of what fear is all about. And then we'll talk about insights into we're going to talk about gaining actionable tips to conquer your creative challenges. Read fear.
yeah. How do you celebrate fear? That sounds like an
That's what we're doing
oxymoron.
today. And then we're going to be doing it. We're going into the inner circle where you will have the opportunity to join with like-minded creatives and have this wonderful community that we have here in New Thought Tuesdays. I am so grateful for you, Rich. I'm so grateful for the New Thought Tuesdays community. And here we go.
So, fear. What's the
Fear.
acronym for that? False evidence appearing real. It's not real, guys.
False evidence appearing real. One of the acronym you talk about. I love that accurate
Yeah,
acronym. If you guys don't know that acronym, it is so helpful because false evidence appearing real. It requires that you take, when you're first using it, it requires that you take the word and go, FEAR. Okay, what were those four things again? FEAR. Okay, so already you're moving back from your fear. If you felt a sense of fear and you're like, I want to use some new thought, ancient wisdom techniques here, let's go to what is fear? FEAR. What? False evidence appearing real. By using that, and that's an actionable tip, actually, that by using that, you're identifying what you're seeing is false. It's evidence of something that is false that seems real to you.
yeah, yeah,
We're flipping fear to say, look, our point of view on fear, it's an evaluation of what's going on that is not observing truth. It's not observing. First, you go to observing what is the human truth going on here. A human truth of what you're observing, and then taking that to a spiritual truth. So false evidence appearing real. So I'm glad you brought that up. I haven't thought about that in a long time. False.
yeah.
So
Well,
what
you
about
know,
this fear?
it's these thoughts and beliefs that we have about impending danger that may not even actually exist.
Yeah.
Yet our mind goes there and brings up all of this fear, doubt, and worry. Have you ever like worried, stayed up all night thinking about something, worried about it, concerned about it the next day you're going to do a lecture or a workshop and all these things that could go wrong in your head, and then you wake up and none of that is real. I mean, it was just your imagination. And so you create it. And you know what we teach at New Thought Tuesdays, thoughts become things. And so you got to be careful about what you're thinking of. So, Dean, how do you release these fearful thoughts that come up, based on false evidence appearing real?
Well, I will go back to, and I'm going to adjust what you're recommending. You use the word careful, and you got to be careful about what you think. And there is an element of concern in the word careful. So that's why I like to focus on being mindful,
Mindful. Yeah.
being aware,
Yeah.
being aware, because being careful, don't touch that stove.
That's fear.
That's so being careful. I mean, and it's minor, my friend, it's minor, but it's the nuance of what this
Yeah.
stuff is about. It's like, how can we? I was just on with a client and I was using the idea of, okay, it's like tuning into the truth is like tuning into an old radio station that where you've got the little dial. The new folks wouldn't know about this, but during older radios, you would have to really tune in to the radio station to get it really clear.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing when we look at fear and say, don't be careful, be mindful. Be mindful of what's going on. Be mindful of the thoughts that you are putting out there. And the first place we went to is evaluating. I'm sorry. The first place we went to is observing. When you're fearful, a,
Mm.
a marvelous tool, the first we said was false evidence appearing real, just to say, hey, something's going on here and it feels really fearful. I don't believe it's as real as all that. So that's one tip. The other tip is to just observe what's going on. That person doesn't like me. They think I'm hateful. Okay. What's happened? Okay, the person is raising their voice to a loud, to a high pitch and a high volume. Their face is turning red as they're speaking to me. They are speaking words that are condemning my actions. That's an observation. And it's very helpful when we're in a fearful situation. Again, I was on with a client recently who was, in the midst of someone who was screaming at them out of the blue. How can you be with this? I asked, in this moment and not take it on, but observe it and then move to evaluating it with a sense of calm and compassion, as we're going to get to today, even empathy. When we get hooked with the fear, when we get hooked with the fear, we can start to use these spiritual tools of observing and naming, evaluating. We're by saying false evidence appearing real, we're choosing to observe and then evaluate that this evidence is not real. This that seems to be so real is not real. And as you guys know from New Thought Tuesdays, we don't even think this stuff is as real as it appears. That whole Einsteinian premise that there's much going on in between the atoms and the molecules. Most of this is most of this is space going on. So that's the first two things: false evidence appearing real, a great acronym, and then observing what's going on and evaluating it from a place of courage. How do you, like you were talking about earlier, when you're working, you're doing a seminar, you're doing a workshop, Rich, for the infinite filmmaker, and how do you deal with any kind of fears that come up, and how do you express those to
You know,
your
I'm glad you brought that up. I've been going to like meetups for filmmakers and people, and I met some people last night. And one of the women that were putting on this event, they had like about 50 people there. It was pretty big at a hotel and stuff. And I thought of, I'm going to talk to her about doing some workshops for her group. And then the fear started coming up. I haven't really spoken and taught my stuff in front of public before and stuff. But then, you just go, what's the opposite of fear? Faith. So I just go to, I've got this handled. I believe in myself. I know this information. I've been working with it for years. I know my principles and I've been, applying them to my own life. And so you kind of deny the fear. It's like the fear's there And I don't, for me, I don't go with focusing on how to work through the fear and all of that stuff. I just go to the spiritual truth that I'm one with this divine presence, infinite intelligence, knows all, sees all, is all, does all. I know that it's got my back. And I know that through the work that I do as far as meditations and praying and affirmations and visualizations, I know that the fear doesn't really, it won't take hold of me. It can't because I don't, to me, it's like denial. It's like, I'm all fearful of this. And it's like, even like last night, I was talking to my wife about, I'm a little nervous about doing, public speaking. And she goes, what are you worried about? You know the stuff, just do it. And it's like, yeah, you're right. It's like,
Yeah,
just do
he
it.
is.
And so I
Well,
always go to my principles and my prayer work and stuff like that. And my understanding of infinite intelligence, the universe, and how it works. It's got your back.
okay, so I want everybody who's watching what just happened with Rich Smith. So here's another tip. This one requires a bit more study and a bit more focus. But look at what he just did. Rich Smith says, so I was feeling fearful. And, I was feeling the fear, and it was like I was a little bit anticipating, a little fearful. And then I realized that, and he starts listing off a litany of truths about his spiritual awareness. God, there's only one God. I am one with God. God is an infinite power and presence expressing in, through, and as me. God is my love and my light. God is expressing in every divine idea that I have. And he just goes on and on and on and on and on with truths that are deep in his awareness, deep in his spirit, but he can call them up. When fear knocks on the door and we're going false evidence appearing real, having the truth, having, as you were pointing out, I love that you say this, the opposite of fear is faith. You take a look at a condition. What is the constructive opposite of a condition that is not wanted? If the condition is fear, what is the constructive opposite? Faith. So
Yeah.
that's where you start. Well, you start learning what the constructive opposites to things are in your awareness, and you start moving in that creative direction. I mean, for the writers out there and for the script writers and the poets and all, this is taking language and moving language that does not serve me into language that does serve me and serves others as well. So that is one, false evidence appearing real. Then we talked about being observing what's going on. And if you're going to evaluate it in a way that serves you and others. And then we move into know what your truth is. Know what your truth is. And a beautiful example of that,
Yeah.
Rich. Thank you.
Using my metaphor of life being a movie, in a movie, characters face challenges and obstacles that seem surmountable to them. And it can create a sense of impending doom in your
Mm.
life, in your own movie. But you have to realize that you are creating the movie of your life. You are the co-director directing this movie with an infinite power and presence. There's nothing to fear. The only thing to fear is fear itself. So you can just move through this by just recognizing that you are writing the script for your movie called life as you think. So why are you thinking about the fear? Why are you focusing on the fear? Move through the fear. I know it was T. Harv Eker who used to say, tame the cobra of fear. You don't kill the cobra of fear, you tame the cobra of fear. So you take that fear and you use it. And I think that's what you're going to talk about in this. You have a little chart that you got going there with a little
I
process
do.
of
I
getting
do.
to
I
the
want to
fear.
talk to you people. First off, there's a website, and I put some information in the chat for the people that are here for the inner circle. I wanted Rich and I wanted to briefly show you. We don't have a whole lot of time, but wanted to introduce you to graceful ways. We really don't talk very much about other people's work. Rich is the infinite filmmaker. I'm living in concert with life. We were talking this week about an organization that has a website called gracefulways.org. And this is an organization that was originally founded by the magnificently spiritually talented Reverend Dr. Marcia Sutton and Reverend Lloyd Strom. And I don't know these two people particularly well. One of my mentors was really mentored very strongly by Reverend Marcia. But at Graceful Ways, there's a lot of remarkable information. And one of the things that we wanted to look at today was something called, well, you were talking about how the opposite of fear is faith.
Mm.
And so there, I'm showing up on, this is one of Reverend Marsh's and Reverend Strom's worksheets called Fear to Faith worksheet. And this worksheet identifies a process. It's a really holistic process. We'll go through this in the inner circle somewhat about identifying what your fear is and moving through this process. You'll see there are numbers up here. So it's 3. I'm going to go to number 1. It says number 1 down here, oldness. The current situation or condition is, and you put in the condition, I have fear about X. This is how I'm feeling. You get into the feelings, the fear, the doubt. I feel agitated.
Like I was saying, speaking in front of public.
Right, exactly. Speaking in front of the
That's a
public.
big fear for a lot of people.
Yes. And or giving a presentation of any kind like that. And then you date it. Now you'll notice you go up here to number 2 on the upper left hand. What I hope will happen. You put in what you hope will happen, what your desire is. Look at number 3 up here. Number 3 is the word of God in which I build my faith is, and you'll see a bunch of words of God at the top here. You choose a word of God that's up there or something that resonates with you. You put it into space 3. You go down to space 4. What I fear will happen. So we're still in the fear and we're talking about what I'm fearing will happen. Then we go back up to number 5. Number 5, draw a symbol of the false belief. So the word of error that I will have falsely believed is, now look at these under there, lack, conflict, limitation, ignorance, rejection, death, chaos, judgment, dependency, duality, disease. Perhaps in the speaking exercise, it would be rejection. So you fill in 5, you fill in 6. The word of resistance that I react with is, I feel a need for control or to hide or to have anger, or I get attached or to disappear, flee, to appease, to worry, to get depressed. Perhaps it is to flee in that case. You get up to 6, you go down to 7, you fill in each one of these. And I don't want to necessarily fill out this whole thing, but this is a tool that begins to outline your fear, how you feel about it, what you're concerned about, where God fits into this, what you want to happen, and what you're needing down here to release and to be grateful for. And the next page brings up a oneness prayer. And we're gonna speak this oneness prayer in the inner circle. But this is just to say to you, guys, there's wonderful information out there to help you identify your creative genius and to use. So knowing your fears, I mean, if you're writing a character that is in fear, being able to extract out these qualities and imbue them into your script. If you're playing a character that's got fear, being able to identify the specific fears. Now, not just I don't feel good, but there's conflict there, deep anxiety. Being able to extract this out, you can use this in your creative process, whether you're directing. If you're a producer and your staff is experiencing fear, having the empathy, and this is the last component. We've spent more time on fear than empathy. having the ability to look at someone else and have compassion and awareness of how they're feeling to the best of your ability. Taking the energy, for instance, Rich, off of concern about speaking in public to being empathetic for those that you are speaking to and having empathy for what they are wanting from you and allowing yourself to provide it to the best of your ability and allowing them to discern it and embrace it, having empathy for your relationship with them. This is where, if we've moved from fear to an idea of faith, this eternal power, this godness, this goodness, and we're going back into the humanville of saying, having empathy. How can you have empathy for something or someone that you are fearful of? And if you can get to empathy, you're releasing the fear.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the other thing about empathy is just having compassion for yourself,
Yeah.
you know, and without judging yourself. Don't be critical or self-critical. Just embrace, you know, a loving attitude towards yourself about it's okay that I'm fearing this, you know, and that's how you can release it. Accept it and release it. So it's okay that I'm feeling fear, you know, and a lot of stuff like in the tapping that we do, and we have a tapping um, session that you can take for free on New Thought Tuesdays. But even in tapping, you first go to the feelings and the emotions that you're feeling, the fear, the doubt, the worry, and you accept that and you say, it's okay if I feel this way. And so have a little compassion for yourself, accept that you're feeling fear, and then move on. It's time to move on. One other thing I wanted to say about that little chart, though, Dean, and this might throw a little wrench into your little chart, but step number 2, okay? Step number 2, so you recognize the fear. Step number 2 is what is step number 2? How do you?
Let me go. There you go.
Yeah.
So what we go
Step
to,
number 2, what
what I hope will
what I hope
happen
will
is,
happen. And right there, you know, this whole chart thing I think is great for somebody that is moving through fear and wants to move through it in a cognitive sense. But when you start working with us on New Thought Tuesdays and you get to understand these spiritual principles and the techniques and the methods that we use to move through it, you can nip it in the bud at step number 2, because instead of I hope will happen, you just go to I know it's going to happen, and you start seeing it in your mind's eye. You can vision for it, pre-paving the way, they call it. You can pre-pave the way. So you wake up in the morning and you see yourself, okay, I got to go do this lecture in front of thousands of people. I'm really nervous about it. But you see yourself on the stage. I know ball players do this when they're, you know, rehearsing for a game. They see it in their mind's eye, every play
yep.
done out perfectly. So you see yourself up on stage and you see yourself just nailing it, you know, in front of the audience. And so you can just move through this stuff through some of the techniques that we use, and we're going to talk about in our inner circle.
Yeah,
After
yes.
this.
And we're about to go into the inner circle. We got a lot going on today. Very excited to be here. Yes. And I love, you know, when you bring up the idea of the fear to faith worksheet, as we look at it and go, okay, what is this about? You kind of grapple with that. You go on, and you do the whole experience. And some people are more studied and can move through it quicker. These kind of things, I love this kind of stuff, but these kind of things I find it's also good for you to languidly go, okay, let me take this slowly. How do I? Let's go through this. There is no fear here, and march through it. But as you say, and sometimes it's like, yeah, seriously, I got it. The fear, I'm in complete awareness of my feelings right now.
Yeah.
And there is no fear. There is, what is there? There is I have a sense of confidence, a sense of courage, a sense of love. I have a sense of empathy. I'm looking out to the people around, and I'm just doing that right now of what I'm Dean Regan is feeling right now. You get these tools going, and you can say, even in the most pressing of situations, I can, like Rich was just doing, rattle off the truth that sets
Yeah.
me.
Recognize there's an unlimited power and presence,
Yep.
knows all, sees all, is all, does all. It's intelligence. That
There you go.
intelligence is my intelligence within me. There is no fear in the mind of the infinite and the creator of all that is. If it feared anything, we wouldn't be here, wouldn't be able to create. And so as creators, we, through the prayer treatments that we do and stuff like that, just move through it and just recognize one with this divine presence, working in and as and through me, not withholding anything. All my needs are met. Everything I need to get this project done. I have nothing to fear. I have this power that creates universes at my back. And so, just to, substantiate what you're talking about, what do you say to yourself, when you're sitting in fear? How do you move through it? And let's talk about that in the inner circle. I'm really
All right.
excited.
So let's go into the inner circle. If you want to join us and you've reached this far in the recording and you congratulations to that. You're truly ignited by the wonderful New Thought Ancient Wisdom teachings. Love that. You can go to newthoughttuesdays.com. newthoughttuesdays.com. Click on I want to be reminded, and we will send you 2 gentle emails with the link of how you can join us. Do go there and click and join us. Looking forward to going into the inner circle. There
We'll
you
see
have
you
it.
next Tuesday.
See
Take
you
care.
next